and we're gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Wesley Walker. Once again, 3 points with Wesley Walker. I have another esteemed guest. This is my second guest. I had my first inaugural guest last week, and this week I have another friend, another colleague that I had back in the day. We were stationed at, how long ago was that? I was working as a civilian at NRD Chicago from 2016 to 2018. And I think you were around there during that time. So we had a couple conversations. 18. Right. I worked up at the headquarters. You had to come there every once in a while, and we had a lot of conversations about sports and LeBron and football and all kind of stuff. So we became somewhat friends based on that. Now we Facebook friends, and we converse every once in a while. So wanted to bring you on. This friend named Damon Sims. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell people about yourself, but just a quick summary from me. He's a legit bodybuilder. Like he's a bodybuilder. He's competed in competitions, so he's very, very highly knowledgeable about nutrition, building muscle, losing weight, cutting weight, body fat percentage, all that type of stuff. He's getting some certifications he's going to tell you about here in a little bit. He's also a really big sports fan, so we're going to talk sports a little bit. But I'll let you get into it. So if you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people your background with regard to health, nutrition, fitness, and then a little bit about yourself, where you're from, as far as your sports affiliations and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I said, thanks for having me on, Wes. Appreciate this opportunity to chop it up here. So Damon Sims, been in Navy 22 and a half years. Punched out here in October. Born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But grew up for the most part in Minneapolis, and I'm stationed here right now. Minneapolis is home. I know it's cold. We talked about that before, but I love the quality of life of what we do up here. It's a good all around place to be. So when it comes to fitness, I've always been an athlete. Always played a lot of sports. Football, basketball, baseball, tracks, and things like that throughout the years. But last, I think, 8 years. It's about 7, 8 years now. I started competing in bodybuilding. And I love that. Just the mentality, the dedication, kind of the rigor when it comes around with it. Just the planning and the planning and it goes involved. I just love that. The motivation and the overall health benefits of it. Qualifications with ISSA certified, and with that, and then moving into the nutrition side of it, because that's the most important thing to me is nutrition. That's huge. So certified, with them, looking to always add more certifications, just to broaden my education level, my horizons when it comes to health and fitness. And sports affiliations, any and everything Pittsburgh, absolutely anything and anything Pittsburgh. And then outside of that, anything and everything LeBron things. This is what it is. I'm a big LeBron guy. Absolutely. And then, but teams, anything out of, just when it comes to teams, anything out of Pittsburgh, I back them. Then outside affiliations would be the Red Sox. So I think I have some stuff up here around the Red Sox. And then since I was a kid, and then the Minnesota Lynx. Always shout out to my Minnesota Lynx, my Lady Basketball, my Lady Hoopers out there. Big spot in my heart for them and the Lady Hoopers, but that's pretty much it, really. That's a breakdown.
Cool. I appreciate that. Real quick, tell the people what ISSA, what is that? What organization is that? What is that certification?
Okay. Yeah, so it's they have classes online and in classes that I got involved with. And with them, it's not just the basic personal training stuff. I really like the organization because they allow you to specify in different areas, like nutrition, sports training, bodybuilding. So you can really yoga. So there's quite a few different avenues that you can use through their organization. And I heard great things about them, and I love the coursework, especially with the pandemic. They were very, very hands-on, even though you were doing it from home. They walk you through things, and then you can go do your hours at different affiliated gyms and whatnot with other trainers. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
That's perfect, man. So yeah, I'll just get right into my first question and my first point. because you probably know about me. I'm more of a casual workout person. I do lift. I do lift a little bit, but knees and joints and stuff aren't the best, so
Mhm,
I can't really lift too heavy. It hurts a little bit. But I wanted to
mhm.
ask you with regards. You talked about nutrition being one of the big things for you. What would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've come across with yourself or people that you're dealing with, people that you're training? What are some of the biggest misconceptions about fitness?
Okay.
And that can be with regards
Biggest
to
miss.
nutrition or just working out in general. But what do you think?
Okay. Everything starts with nutrition. Um, and the biggest mistake people have made with nutrition, the biggest misconception is people think you're overweight because you overeat. We don't eat enough. Okay. This is what I mean. And
This is
this is
good.
what
See,
kind
this
of
is
blew my
good. You
mind.
gotta explain
Yeah.
this. Explain this.
Yeah. So your body, so kind of my quick fitness journey, I had when I would play sports and then I was playing basketball. And then I got in the Navy for a couple of years, so I had a long commute back and forth. So my automatic go play basketball at lunch or pop in right after was taken away. Right. So I was eating quick meals in the car, things like that, was putting on weight. And then I had my first son. Now I have my son, and then all of a sudden I didn't realize how much weight I put on. But I wasn't eating all day long fast food. I was eating crap food, but I was only eating a couple meals a day. But and then I got on a plan where it was I had to eat every 3 hours. My plan was like, this ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work. And it did, right? Because your body, it's all about metabolism, which your body's burning, right? And if you only eat once or twice a day and it's only processed food, your body doesn't process the food. The right is already processed. It just passes it through. So your metabolism never kicks in and works. And your
Mm.
metabolism, yeah, your body, if your metabolism, if you don't give your body something to do, it won't do anything. It won't do anything, right? So if the food is processed, your body doesn't truly process. And when that process, your body utilizes and pulls nutrients out of it, pulls what it needs out of it. That's the process. And that's all your body does. It it takes in, processes things and makes poop. That's it. But if you don't give your body the fuel or the reason to process, your metabolism it'll shut down, your metabolism shuts down, which means what? You don't metabolize your food, you don't break it down, and then you essentially you start to gain weight. It's just going to hold on to everything. So, but if you're,
Ah.
yeah, so if you're constantly kind of like a car, you're constantly putting in, if you don't put gas, if you don't use your car, it don't burn up gas. But if you more use your car, the more gas it needs. And if you don't put gas in it, your engine's going to shut down. That's all your gas, just all your engine does is consume gas. That's all it is. So with your body, it's very similar. So that was the biggest misconception that I had to clear from my head. And then when I had to eat 6 times a day or 5 times a day, I didn't want to eat, but I had to eat the right stuff, the right food, the right things that weren't pre-processed. And then the weight started coming off. It just started coming off. So that's the biggest issue that I see with folks want to lose weight. Oh, I did a fast. Well, okay, but did you get all the nutrients that your body needed during your fasting period? Um, or
Well,
I
so
cut out carbs, whatever. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
man, that's really interesting. So are you saying that like we talk about like caloric intake when you weren't eating
Mhm,
healthy because of your say basketball or whatever versus when you start a three time or every 3 hour regimen? Were you eating more
mhm.
calories even during that time? Even you were eating more calories and still losing weight, or how did that work?
I was eating more food, less calories because it wasn't pre-processed. It wasn't overly fat. It had a bunch of stuff injected into it. Um, but yeah, so I was eating more food essentially, but doesn't have a high calorie intake.
So what type of
Mhm.
foods we talk about? Let the people know what type of stuff they need to be eating.
So I was eating, kind of the basics, rice, sweet potatoes, um, uh, for carbs, right? Rice, sweet potatoes, different types of beans, things of the sort, oatmeal, grits, so stuff that like some people really like. I was able to eat those. I just knew when to eat them and how much to eat. So say you're a big person and you have that mentally, you got to feel full, right? So to eat, say you got to have 40 carbs. You need some carbohydrates, right? You need 40 carbs, and rice. That's only like a third, like a half a cup, less than a half a cup of rice, right? But I want to feel full, so if I eat sweet potatoes, that's like a cup and a half. So it's a lot of sweet potatoes just to make up the little bit of rice. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
my bigger guys, as a bigger guy, I like the sweet potatoes. I like to feel full, mentally, right? So I eat more sweet potatoes. But if I need to get a lot of calories in, or just keep it a calorie, no, I eat a lot, I have rice.
Mm.
So I don't feel full, but I'm getting everything I need. And so those are the kind of carbs, and those are things that if you set it out, the kind of rule of thumb, if you set it on the counter and it doesn't rot or get bad within 24 hours, you don't need to be you don't need to eat it.
You say if you sit it on the counter and it doesn't get bad within 24
Yeah, if
hours.
it doesn't go, if it only go bad within 24 to 48 hours, you probably shouldn't be eating it. Think about it. If you leave a McDonald's hamburger on the table, or that bad boy sit in the fridge for however long, you take it out, put it in the microwave, it's
It
gonna
looked
heat up. It doesn't
it looked
stink.
yeah, it looked the same.
It don't go right. Yep, don't go bad. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. Yeah, it's kind of that's kind of the rule of thumb. But those type of things. So, when it comes to your meats, you know what I mean? Cleaner cuts of meats, not fried stuff, um, not fried chicken, bake it, put it in the broiler, put it in the crock pot, things like that, that you're not adding a whole bunch of stuff and actually enjoying the flavor of the food and not what we put on
And that's church right there, man. I appreciate that.
it. Yeah.
All right, so we'll transition to the second point, man. That's some good stuff. I hope people can take that to heart, and I'm gonna do that myself as well. Real quick before I go to my second point, though,
Yep.
let's talk about the opposite. You probably remember you saw
Okay.
me. I'm a slender guy, so I
Yep.
think
One of them cats everybody hates. You're gonna be thin no matter what. Good high
bro,
standards, right?
yeah,
You know?
dude, everybody hate me. My wife hates me. Everybody hate me. Like I tell, like if I skip a meal, I'm gonna lose. If I skip a meal, I'm gonna lose two. I'm losing 2 pounds. Like I can't skip a
Yeah,
meal and I lose. I lose. Like shut up. I hate. I'm like, you don't understand. I want to get kind of buff. It's a struggle for me. I have a struggle too. Like it's
yeah.
kind of funny you say that. People
You
do.
do, and that's it. They can't stand you. Like your women have to have a baby, and 2 months later they look like they have a child. It's like, it's like
Exactly.
no, everybody's body's a little bit different, but it's going to be that food thing, because the working out is the easy part, honestly, because you
You're
can
so
find
right.
people to motivate you. That you can find somebody to motivate you if you find the right atmosphere and things of the sort, right? But you can control really what your body does just by the food. It's just going to be upping one side or lowering the other when it comes to carbs versus what you're doing for activity. If you're lifting more, eating. And kind of, I don't know if we're gonna ask this later about the bodybuilding, one of the hardest parts about it. You know what I mean?
You're so right, man. You're so right because I remember I think the heaviest I ever got probably is about 180. And I was just, like you
Mhm.
said, the eating was exhausting. I was eating like 5, 6 eggs in the morning, eating meat. It was pretty exhausting. So that's actually a pretty good segue into point number 2. So you did talk about bodybuilding and you're actually a bodybuilder right now. Um,
Mhm.
what's the one thing about bodybuilding that you would say people don't know? Like we know about the famous people back in the day, Arnold's, and I don't really know too
Mhm.
many name of famous bodybuilders, but we know like the glitz and glamour of it. What's some insight you can give us, maybe behind the scenes or some funny stories, or what's some things about bodybuilding that the average Joe not gonna know?
The hardest part of bodybuilding, I would say, is posing. The posing. You have to be able to flex your muscles and move them in a way that's gracious, that's very artsy, very artful, very knowledgeable. I'm saying, like, you got to show off, and how to show every muscle that you need to show, but then hide your good points and exasperate and just really, focus on the muscle that you need to be showing at that time. And it's very, very, very exhausting. Um, and there's nothing to do with you have to have build up cardiovascular health to be able to do that. So the difficult part is that posing, because on stage, kind of looking like this. when guys when a woman walks by, girls walk by, you suck it in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right?
Put
Try
your
doing
shoulders back like that.
Yeah,
Put your
back.
shoulders
Yep,
back.
suck it in. Now, yeah, you got to shoulders back, suck it in.
Yeah.
Then you got to make sure you flex your right quad. Then you got to
Right.
make sure you pull shoulder pounds forward. Then you got to make this sure this chest. And then you can't breathe too hard. And then you make your belly punch out and do that for 6 minutes straight.
Oh, man.
And trying to compare yourself and beat the guy next to you, the guy or girl next to you. There's so much process in practicing knowing what it feels like to make this muscle and this muscle pop at the same time in the light at the right angle.
That does sound tough.
And it's got to be boom, 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 boom. They tell you a pose, you got to pop it, boom, and look the best at doing it. So you got to be able to highlight your best parts and try to cover or accentuate your weak points. So it's a constant process of improvement. There's no perfection to it. There's people who can look perfect, but on that given day, someone can roll right in and beat you on that stage.
This is what I always wondered about bodybuilding. How much of bodybuilding is luck with regard to like natural body composition? Like everybody can build muscle, but how much of it is you have to have a certain body type, your shoulders have to be a certain way for that muscle to be pop different than the next guy? Like what percentage would you say is natural body composition versus just working out and working certain muscles?
I would say I think the way there's so many different categories now that anybody can do it. And and this is what I mean. If you're shorter, you're typically thicker. Right. Your body, and also for the tall guys that everyone loves, they're tall and other, it's a little more difficult, right? In certain categories. So the basic breakdown is you have your open bodybuilders. These guys are massive, you know what I mean? Can't walk through the door type guys, right?
Is that what Arnold was? A general? Or?
He was an open bodybuilder.
Okay.
But we have a new category called, and we call them the mass monsters, right? So now they have classic physique. Classic physique is that's what I compete in. And to me, it's the art of it. It is the full body, your long muscles. That's the look that Arnold and those guys went for back in the day.
Okay.
It wasn't packing on muscle on top of muscle on top of muscle, or just, it was much more gracious, much more artsy, much more the flow, the pictures that made, to me, this is for me personally, made the sport beautiful. Okay. You know what I mean? So that's classic physique. Then you have physique. That's your guys that wear like the swim shorts, the swim trunks. Little small, very small, big waist, big shoulders, your tall guys, and all of a sudden, boom, their waist is like this big. And then slimmer in the legs. So every body type, you can pretty much fall into a specific bodybuilding category. And then if you have a certain part of your body that needs to be brought up, you work on that particular body part to make it bigger. For me personally, my personal struggle was my shoulders, because you see a lot of guys that walk like this, right?
Yep.
One of our mutual best friends, walk down the hallway. Here we go. You already know what we're talking about. Smelling good, right? Yeah. But I had to work on my shoulders. And when I first started training, my shoulder and my upper chest, my trainer said, you will not do anything but shoulders 2 to 3 times a week for the next, you're going to infiltrate the backs of your shoulders, everything for the next 2 months. The upper chest, because I was so tall, I was this way, but I just wasn't there this way.
Right.
And I had to accentuate my shoulders, so that's what had to bring that up. Then my legs, those long legs. So there's certain muscles for me. I can't compete with the bodybuilder who's a guy who's 5'8" and just short torso. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. So I guess to answer your question, there's your natural body composition, your natural body, how it shapes. There's a category for you. There's definitely a category.
So somebody like myself, let's say I want to get into bodybuilding hypothetically. So I would have what's called traditional chicken legs, right?
Physique.
Right? Physique for sure.
You're a physique athlete all day
Oh, okay.
because with you being a runner, thinner legs, smaller waist, right? But I know how you're built. You're a little bit wider up top, right?
Yeah, I am
We
actually.
cap your shoulders off. If your waist is like this, your shoulders like this, you put some muscle on those shoulders, you're gonna look massive because your shoulder to waist ratio just goes like this. It's insane for you, and that's where that beach body, that GQ magazine type of thing will come in. Because when you look at legs, the only people that mess with people about having smaller legs are guys messing with other guys about smaller legs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Women don't say that, you know what I mean? But even in the sport, even those you still work your legs. You know what I mean? Because you'll have a bigger thigh, but it brings that waist in and your shoulders boom. And so that would be that's what I would say you would compete in naturally off top with your natural body and who you are. And that's what it was. I start off with physique, but I was a little bit big in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And my legs, I had bigger hips, but I was too tall to compete with 5 foot mass monster guys.
How tall are you?
Physique became I'm 6'3".
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, 6'3". Right now about 264. And then on stage, run about 225.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
About 220, 225. Yeah, it's based on what you do. Like my wife, she competed in bikini, but she's too much muscle for that. You know what I mean? So we move up to the next. She did it. She's like, okay, that's fun, but I want to look like I'm really in shape. So she moves up to figure, which is a little more muscle. You know what I mean? For the women, a little more, so it just depends on where you're at.
Gotcha, man. That's awesome, man. That's really good. I learned a lot about that, man. So appreciate that. Oh man, that's dope. That's dope. Well, all right, man. Appreciate that one. We'll transition to the last point. For the people, like I said at the beginning, Sims is a big sports guy. We talk sports a lot. So real quick before we get out of here, we're gonna break down a couple of the playoff series that are left so far. Right now, we got the Clippers and the Jazz. What have you seen so far? What do you think is going to happen with the Clippers and Jazz?
I love the Jazz. I never thought in a million years I would still like watching these guys play.
Real quick before you answer, full disclosure, funny enough, I was like the biggest Karl Malone and John Stockton fan growing up. So I was like a really big Utah Jazz fan today.
Okay.
So I'm happy to see them back on top, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I didn't know a lot of Jazz fans outside of Utah.
I was the only one that I knew.
I was in the LA gear gym shoe Karl Malone had.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get that one.
I'm dating myself, but yeah, no, I like seeing them. I just think that the game has changed so much that 3-point line, when you got 4 guys that can knock it down, but then are willing rebounders. I just think it's a lot to deal with the Clippers. But I just don't think they have the shoot. They have the great defense, but when guys are hitting shots 30 feet away, there's no defense for that. You know what I mean? And Kawhi is the best 2-way player. If he's got to come all the way out there to defend, then you don't have him rebounding. And I'm thinking them. I'm picking Utah in 6, in that series. Sure.
Yeah, I would agree, man. I just the way you said it, I think the 3-point shot, everybody chasing Steph and Clay and doing what the Warriors have been doing for so many years. Everybody chasing them. The league has caught up to them a little bit. They're not at that level, but the league has caught up a little bit. So when you have a team like Utah that's pretty successful with shooting threes, that the advantage that PG and Kawhi have as far as their talent levels is kind of offset by the 3-point shooting of the Jazz. Like PG and Kawhi probably are the best 2 players on the court, but it doesn't matter if Bogdanovic knocked down 5 threes in the game. And then Clarkson coming in gonna give you 24. And then Rudy's still shutting you down when you try to come in the lane. So it's just, I feel like the 3-point shooting offsets the advantage that PG and Kawhi have so much. I just think they're going to struggle to overcome that. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, that middle of the floor thing, that's where they have their advantage.
Correct.
But on defense, that's where they have their advantage, that middle of the floor. But that's not where the game is.
Exactly.
It's not where you're going to play that.
The 3-point shot totally negates that advantage almost. So they got. We'll see. What about the Nets and the Bucks? What are you seeing with that? The Bucks were able to finally get a win, so you think it's
5-4.
still over?
5-1. It's
Wow.
5-4-1. It's done in 5, man. Without Harden, it makes it closer games, but I just don't believe in the other guys when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks. Johnson is a stud. He's a top 5 talent in the league, but he has absolutely positively no mid-range game.
It's
And
ugly too. It's ugly too when he tries.
Oh my goodness.
God.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I know you've been working out all off season, man. What do you do? Like, you gotta have better than this if you're working out for an entire summer. Like, you should have a hook shot or something. Jesus, He looks so ugly.
That mid-range, yeah, and that's what Middleton is a great mid-range guy, but he's not getting it done. You know, he's not going to carry that squad, especially when Giannis is expected. Honestly, I'd pull Giannis out the game the last 3 minutes if it's tight. That's just me. Because you got other guys who can hit that mid-range shot. They can get to the line. They can hit a 3. They're multifaceted. Everything tightens up, and everything tightens up in the playoffs, especially the lane. So Giannis, if you can't do anything right outside that lane and live around out there,
there's nothing
you can
for
dunk all day, but
they ain't letting you in that last 3 minutes. You're not dunking it. You gotta float it or something. I agree. I don't know if I would take him off. I think I would put the ball in Drew Holiday's hands. I would have Giannis maybe roam the baseline or something, right? Like roam the baseline, wait for a drop off. Somebody drop it off to you, you can finish, something like that. But they have him operating at the top of the paint too much with the ball in his hands, which he don't have the skill set for that. I don't know why they still do that, but we'll see what happens.
He's literally, but it's tight. He's literally the third, possibly fourth option
in those situations.
Because
half-court.
Because Brooks will step out into the 3. The 7-footer.
Brooke Lopez. Yep.
Yeah,
he will.
Brooke, he'll hit that. Giannis, it'll happen. So he's literally the third, maybe the fourth option.
Hey, and Lopez, you can dump and down him on the post really if you want to as well. Oh, yeah. He shoots a lot of threes now. He got away from that, but he do have that post-up capability. So he probably is the fourth option in the half court.
Yeah, you would never think that Giannis should be a third or fourth option on his own team, but
in those situations, everything changes. Yeah, that's true. Sir. I agree with that. We'll see what happens. What about so who do you think win in the finals? Well, what do you think? What are your finals prediction? And then we'll get on out of here.
I'm taking if Harden is my own caveat. I hate the caveat. Harden comes back, it's Brooklyn in 6.
Okay.
If he doesn't,
over who?
Over Utah.
So you got Utah in there over the Suns. If the Suns,
I got Utah. I got Utah over the Suns.
Okay.
Because and again, he can't score, but Rudy Gobert is a problem.
Man, he shut down the whole section of the court. Like you can't come in. You can't come in within like 6 feet of the whole rim. That's major.
Yeah, and they do live. And Phoenix does a good job living that mid range, but Rudy will step out. And they don't have nobody cutting back door to dunk on him. That's one thing that Phoenix does not have. They don't have a back door guys, mid-range and 3. So that means Rudy can come out a little bit and challenge that. And, then like you mentioned a while ago, we're talking before we came on, Chris Paul, he can shoot them shots over people. He ain't shooting it over Rudy Gobert.
He can't shoot it. And that's I think that's what makes Rudy Gobert a little different than the other rim protectors. He can actually get out to that mid-range jumper and bother that shot too. Like most of the guys, if you come in, try to dunk or lay it up, they can bother. But he can actually come out like that little mid-range that Chris Paul has mastered. Rudy get a finger on that. Rudy gonna get a finger on it or bother it enough that he have to shoot it so high, he probably gonna miss it. So that will be interesting.
Who you taking?
I'm leaning towards the Jazz because just what I was saying earlier, if they can get to the finals, even if they see Brooklyn, I think the 3-point shooting of Utah is going to offset the advantage of KD, is going to offset the advantage of, Kyrie, Harden. So, and I think Utah is better defensively. So I think they're going to all kind of offset each other offensively. And I mean, we haven't even talked about how great Donovan Mitchell been playing, just individually. Like he's looking like 2006 Dwayne Wade, right? So
Oh
They have
yeah.
like a mini version of 2006 Dwayne Wade. They have 3-point
Mhm.
snipers all over the place. They got Jordan Clarkson, which is like he's the new microwave Vinny Johnson. He just come in and give you like
Yeah.
20. He just come in and give you like
Just real
20,
quick.
just easy. Yeah, real quick 20. And you got Rudy shutting down the lane and getting the mid-range shots on the defensive end. So I think,
Hmm.
I feel a little uncomfortable betting against KD the way he looking. I do. But
Yeah.
maybe it's my heart. Like I said, I was always kind of a Jazz fan growing up. So my heart is forcing me to kind of lean towards the Jazz. It'll be a good series. I wouldn't be surprised if Brooklyn win, but I would have to lean towards the Jazz. So we'll see how it
I'm
plays.
not a Utah guy, and I'm still picking them.
Hey,
So
there you go. So maybe I'm being objective. Maybe I am being a little objective.
you are give yourself credit. You're being objective.
I
Yes, you're
appreciate it.
being objective. I support you on that.
Appreciate it, man.